This morning, the world's largest music streaming site is going public on the New York Stock Exchange. Analysts say the company could be valued at more than $20 billion.
That's with a B. Spotify will launch with a direct listing of shares, not an IPO. So this removes the traditional role of investment banks. It means existing Spotify shareholders can sell stocks directly to the public. Wow. The company says the goal is to make investment in the business more transparent.
In the early 2000s, music was dying. The industry watched helplessly as billions of dollars evaporated into the digital void. Napster had opened Pandora's box and piracy became the norm. For every song purchased, hundreds were stolen. Record labels hemorrhaged money, artists struggled to survive, and the entire business model crumbled. Then, two Swedish entrepreneurs decided to do something radical. They wouldn't fight piracy. They'd beat it at its own game. Daniel Ek was 23 years old when he retired. He just sold his online advertising company for over $1 million and could afford to kick back and enjoy life. But retirement lasted only a few months. The problem wasn't money, it was boredom. He needed a challenge, and he found one in the most broken industry imaginable. Music piracy was everywhere in the mid-2000s. Services like Kazaa dominated, offering millions of free songs. Legal alternatives existed, but they were terrible. iTunes charged $2 per song, and downloading took forever. The disconnect was obvious. People wanted instant access to any song anywhere without the hassle, but nobody had figured out how to make it legal and profitable. Ek's vision was simple but revolutionary. Create a service better than piracy while still paying artists. In 2006, he partnered with Martin Lorenzen, a seasoned entrepreneur who'd co-founded Tradedoubler. Lorenzen invested €1 million of his own money and committed fully to the venture. They called it Spotify, a name born from a misheard suggestion that later became a blend of spot and identify. The idea was straightforward: offer unlimited music streaming for free with ads, or pay a small monthly fee for an ad-free experience. But turning that idea into reality would require something nobody else had managed: the music industry's blessing. Record labels were terrified. They'd watched Napster destroy their business and weren't eager to trust another tech platform. Why would they license their entire catalogs to a startup that wanted to give music away for free? The negotiations took 2 years. 2 years of rejections, skepticism, and closed doors. Ek and Lorenzen operated without income during this time, developing their platform while navigating the economic downturn. The breakthrough came when Spotify offered something radical: equity stakes in the company. The major labels collectively received around 18% ownership in Spotify. This aligned everyone's interests. If Spotify succeeded, the labels would profit not just from royalties but from the company's growth itself. On October 7, 2008, Spotify launched in Europe through an invitation-only system. The response was immediate. Users loved the instant access to millions of songs. The interface was clean and intuitive. Playlists were easy to create and share. Within months, Spotify had hundreds of thousands of users, and that number kept growing. But success in Europe was just the beginning. The real prize was America, the world's largest music market. Spotify entered the United States in 2011, 3 years after its European launch. The competition was already fierce, with Pandora dominating internet radio and iTunes controlling digital downloads. Apple would launch Apple Music in 2015, bringing the full weight of its ecosystem into the fight. What set Spotify apart wasn't just its catalog or technology. It was the business model itself. The freemium approach was genius. Users could start listening immediately without paying a cent. No credit card required, no trial period that would expire. Just open the app and play music. This eliminated the biggest barrier to entry and created a massive user base almost overnight. The free tier served two purposes. First, it competed directly with piracy by offering a legal alternative that was just as convenient. Second, it created a conversion funnel to premium subscriptions. As users fell in love with Spotify's personalized playlists and discovery features, the limitations of the free tier became more annoying. Ads interrupted songs. Offline listening wasn't available. Audio quality was lower. The conversion rate was remarkable. By 2024, Spotify had achieved a 40% conversion rate from free to paid users. The industry average for freemium products was just 2 to 5%. This wasn't luck. It was strategic design. Spotify made the free experience good enough to compete with piracy, but limited enough to encourage upgrades. The company invested heavily in personalization algorithms that made each user's experience unique. Discover weekly playlists introduced users to new artists based on their listening history. Daily mixes combined favorite songs with similar tracks. At the end of each year, Spotify Wrapped created personalized summaries that users eagerly shared on social media, generating massive free publicity. These features created what economists call network effects. The more people used Spotify, the better it became at recommending music. The better the recommendations, the more engaged users stayed. The higher the engagement, the more likely users were to convert to premium subscriptions. It was a self-reinforcing cycle that competitors struggled to replicate. But Spotify's biggest battle wasn't with other streaming services. It was with the music industry itself. Labels had reluctantly agreed to license their catalogs, but tensions remained high. Artists complained about low per-stream payouts. Spotify paid roughly 3 cents per thousand streams, while Apple Music paid over 6 cents. The criticism was intense and public. Taylor Swift pulled her entire catalog from Spotify in 2014, calling the service's payouts insulting. Other artists followed. The controversy raised fundamental questions about the value of music in the streaming era. Spotify's response was consistent. Don't look at per-stream rates. Look at total payouts. By 2025, Spotify was paying over $10 billion annually to rights holders, a tenfold increase from 2014. The platform had created a new revenue stream that grew larger every year. More than 10,000 artists now earned over $100,000 annually from Spotify alone. The company argued it was growing the pie rather than just redistributing existing slices. Yet tensions persisted. Major labels had negotiated higher royalty rates than independent labels and individual artists. These deals were protected by strict confidentiality agreements, creating a two-tiered system where identical streams paid different amounts depending on who owned the rights. This gave major labels significant leverage. They controlled the most popular music and could threaten to pull their catalogs if Spotify didn't comply with their demands. But Spotify was learning to play the game. The platform started diversifying beyond major label content. It acquired podcast studios and signed exclusive deals with popular creators like Joe Rogan and Call Her Daddy. These deals gave Spotify original content that didn't require label approval or royalty payments. The company also encouraged direct uploads from independent artists and partnered with distributors to expand its catalog. Library music companies like Epidemic Sounds provided mood-based tracks for playlists, often at lower licensing costs than major label music. These moves gradually reduced the label's stranglehold on the platform. By 2025, Spotify had over 7 million podcasts and more than 100 million tracks available. The platform had evolved from a pure music streaming service into a comprehensive audio entertainment destination. This diversification served multiple purposes. It attracted new users, increased engagement, and reduced dependence on any single content source. Competition remained fierce. Apple Music leveraged its hardware ecosystem and offered exclusive artist content. Amazon Music bundled streaming with Prime memberships. YouTube Music had billions of users on its ad-supported platform. Tencent Music dominated China with over 500 million users. Yet Spotify maintained its lead. As of the third quarter of 2025, Spotify had 281 million premium subscribers and over 700 million monthly active users. Its market share stood at 31.7% globally, more than double its nearest competitor. In the United States, Spotify, Apple Music, and Amazon Music collectively commanded over 90% of the streaming market. The company's focus on personalization proved to be its competitive advantage. While competitors could match Spotify's catalog size and pricing, they struggled to replicate the algorithmic magic that made each user's experience feel uniquely tailored. Features like the AI DJ, which provided personalized commentary and music selection, deepened user engagement. Collaborative playlists and social sharing turned listening into a communal experience. Spotify Wrapped became an annual cultural phenomenon, generating hundreds of millions of social media posts and driving new subscriptions. But the ultimate validation came in 2024, when Spotify reported its first annual net profit. After years of prioritizing growth over profitability, the company finally proved its business model could sustain itself. Revenue reached over 4 billion euros per quarter, with strong growth across all regions. The stock market responded positively, and critics who'd questioned Spotify's long-term viability had to reconsider. The journey from startup to market leader hadn't been smooth. Spotify faced constant criticism about artist payments, accusations of promoting AI-generated content over human musicians, and ongoing battles with labels over licensing terms. The company's founder, Daniel Ek, drew fire for investing in military technology companies through his personal investment fund, prompting some artists to boycott the platform. Yet through all the controversies, Spotify kept growing. It expanded into podcasts and audiobooks, broadening its definition of audio entertainment. It raised prices strategically in different markets, balancing revenue growth with subscriber retention. It partnered with telecommunications companies in emerging markets where data costs were high, making streaming more accessible. And it continued investing in the technology that made its service indispensable. Machine learning algorithms got better at predicting user preferences. Audio quality improved with high-fidelity streaming options. The user interface became more intuitive and feature-rich. The company that started as a solution to music piracy had fundamentally transformed how people consumed audio content. It proved that convenience could beat free, that personalization created value, and that a well-designed freemium model could build a sustainable business at massive scale. Today, Spotify stands as more than just a streaming service. It's a platform that connects over 700 million listeners with millions of artists and creators. It generates billions in revenue for the music industry, while offering users unlimited access to nearly any song ever recorded. It's changed how artists release music, how fans discover new favorites, and how the entire industry thinks about distribution and monetization. The two Swedish entrepreneurs who refused to accept that piracy was inevitable didn't just build a successful company. They reshaped an entire industry by understanding one simple truth. People don't pirate music because they want to steal. They do it because legal alternatives are inconvenient, expensive, or limited. Make the legal option better than piracy, and people will choose it. Spotify proved that thesis at a scale nobody thought possible. In doing so, it didn't just beat the music industry at its own game. It created an entirely new game with new rules, and then won that too.